What's up, everybody? It's your boy Maine back here with another video. Sorry I missed one over the last couple of days. I've been busy. I was on a little bit of a work trip. Let's talk about crypto prices. We're going to focus on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. As you know from the last video, I was looking at a Bitcoin long. I was in a Bitcoin long. It got stopped out, guys. So I'm human. Unlike most of the people you see on social media, I'm more than happy and willing to admit when I get shit wrong, because it happens more often than you would think. Nobody is perfect, but as long as you manage your risk, keep those losses small, and they're outweighed by your larger wins, it's okay. So we'll cover kind of what I think is coming next for the markets. We've had a bit of a pullback, people on the timeline freaking out, top calls, all sorts of stuff. I'm still in the camp that we have another leg. I do not think that the bull market is over. With that being said, I'm going to be covering areas where I think you can potentially look to long the market. Like I said at the beginning of the video, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, again, be the focus of this one. So I'll give you my exact levels of where I'm looking for price to go to, where we can formulate a trade. And from there, it's up to you whether or not you want to execute along with me or you want to do your own thing. You disagree with me, I don't really care. So let's get after it here, guys. So looking first at Bitcoin, we're going to start on the monthly time frame, okay? Remember, always with analysis, we want to do top down. Start at the highest time frame, and then we are going to kind of zoom in that scope. I always give you guys that analogy of a sniper. You're out in the field, you're surveying the landscape. You start with the wide, right? And then you zoom in, you zoom in, you zoom in until you're dialed in on your target. That's your execution time frame, and pull the trigger. There's your headshot. And that's your actual trade. So on the widest time frame, I don't think you need to go any higher than the monthly. Like the yearly, this asset's pretty bullish always, right? The 3-month, still very much bullish in my opinion. The monthly gives us something to work with here. Now, I'm going to start with some pretty big zones and levels, and it's going to piss some people off. I already had a comment from someone just over the last few days being like, man, that box is so big, like it's ridiculous. Like, if you guys watch my videos, by now, you should know that the high time frame order blocks are not just telling you to long here, put your stop $20,000 below price, right? Like, this is technically a monthly order block here. Does that mean I think you should long this and put your stop down there? No. Could you? Sure. But like, what kind of position size are you going to put on if your stop loss is 20% away from your entry? Now, you could take this trade long 95K, stop below, 73,000, target 150. That's a 2.5 to 1 trade. So nothing wrong with that trade, but think about it from a risk management perspective. Are you really going to want to hold some longs down 20%, $20,000? Probably not, right? So this big order block, yes, it's $20,000, right? But remember, the order block on the high time frames are an area of context. It's not necessarily the entry itself. It can be, but we use lower time frame PD arrays, order blocks, breakers, fair value gaps to actually get in our entries, and we use that high time frame order block as context. Are we bullish? The reason I leave this big box on here, and people go, why the hell is your box so big, is because when I'm on the low time frame, if price looks super bearish here, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that I'm within a monthly bullish order block and the high time frame order flow is up, meaning that on the low time frame, even though it might be bearish, I'm waiting for that low time frame to shift back to bullish, realign itself with the high time frame, right? It's kind of just a thing for me mentally that keeps me in check with that high time frame bias. So I don't lose sight of the overall direction of what I believe of the market, which in this instance is bullish. So with all that rambling out of the way, the monthly chart, the most recent level that is broken out is bullish, right? So we have a high time frame monthly MSB there, okay? We broke structure to the upside on the monthly. That break in structure originated from this down move, okay? So as much as this is like, oh my God, this is a $30,000 block, I'm not saying you have to fucking long the block here. I'm just saying this down move generated this most recent break in structure to the upside. Okay. Another really good example of this actually comes from the yearly chart. Let's go to this one because it's got more history. You might have said, Maine, why the hell would I look at the yearly chart here? This order block is quite literally 70% big, right? Like the open is 3 grand, the top is 17 grand. But look at what happened. Again, I'm not saying you need to just long here, stop here. But in hindsight, you could have, and it would have worked out really nicely. But what you know is that this down move generated this yearly MSB. And so when price came back to this gray box, you might just say, well, on the yearly, it's just bang, bang. This is a yearly chart. If we zoom into the weekly, now all of a sudden, when we come back here and everyone is shitting their pants, this is literally the Pico bottom of the market. This is FTX. This is the implosion of everything. Crypto's dead. If you didn't have this big gray yearly order block here, it would be very easy to be a giga bear here. It would make sense. Everything's imploding. The guy we thought that was going to lead crypto into the next decade is in jail. His exchange went bankrupt. Right? Like everything's a scam. Market down 80%. It's over. But when you say, hey, I have this yearly order block here. So even though the weekly is bearish, maybe what I'll do is I'll look for it to flip bullish. And now it's in line with that yearly order flow again. Maybe now, instead of having my stop way down here, I say, oh, well, once we reclaimed this, put in that deviation, now the weekly's bullish. Maybe I now want to be long. Instead of my stop being down here, it's here. So this is what I mean by using those high time frame order blocks for context and then zooming in to dial in and refine, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I've completely gone off the rails here. We're supposed to be talking about what's happening right now. So the monthly, still very much bullish, and it can remain bullish until we lose this low. Okay, and does that mean I'm going to hold my spot Bitcoin all the way down here? No. Okay, but it means technically it's bullish until we lose this low. So with that in mind, the monthly is bullish. I would argue that the weekly is bearish now. Okay, we had that weekly SFP here, and we've now had this break below the breaker block, right? That flipped the weekly bearish. So to me, this is the weekly kind of internal range. I've talked about this in the prior videos. Market structure break, where we broke below these lows. You could use this low as well. I'm just using the body in this instance here. We've broken below this on the weekly. That's going to be a key level that we want to reclaim, right? Because right now it's just looking like, okay, sweep, break, bearish retest, right? We do have this weekly order block over here, okay, that I think is interesting. But on the weekly, I see 2 levels of liquidity, right? This being the most obvious one on the weekly here. That's weekly liquidity right there, okay? Weekly is bearish. The daily, right? It's also bearish. We're very much in a downtrend on the daily. Took out the high. There's your low. Structure break, lower low, lower high, right? Is this potentially a higher low? Maybe. But looking at the daily chart on its own, this to me just seems like too big of a draw. And this is what I alluded to in my last post, right? Because as you guys know, I longed, what did I long? I longed here? No, I longed this. I longed this, right? And when we lost this, to me, I think this is kind of the draw, and maybe even this is the draw, okay? So what I'm looking at here on Bitcoin is I think that the daily is bearish, okay? The daily is bearish. I think the weekly is bearish. And I think the monthly is bullish. So what I want is to see the lower time frames, which in this instance would be the daily and the weekly. I want to see those sync back up with the monthly time frame. Okay? And I think that's going to give you the highest probability long. So what would that look like? Well, I think the daily would flip bullish above here. Right? Above here, the daily would very clearly flip bullish. So I think the setups for the long side on Bitcoin are as follows. There's 2 of them, okay? Setup number 1 would be the daily I guess there's 3. I lied. I'm sorry. Setup number 1, which is my preferable setup, is we actually reject here, take out this low, and then we put in a breaker here, and that's your long, okay? That's setup number 1. So we take out this liquidity, like this bid gets rejected tomorrow. We take out this low, we get one more push down, then we get some sort of breaker block here, right? We're going to have an order block just like this that caused this liquidity sweep. A reclaim of that order block is going to be your long scenario. Okay, so let me just see if I can draw it out even better here. Let's assume this is the end of the up move here, and then the next candle is down and then down. A reclaim of this block, which becomes the breaker, that becomes your long with your stop below there, right? Okay. The second scenario, which I like less, would be just reclaiming this. The setup would be basically the exact same as the other setup I discussed. You'd put your stop below here. The reason I like it less is I think the strength of the move and the confidence I have in the move will be a lot higher if we take out this low first. I don't really like when we see these kind of engineered lows. And if you look at this here, we also got this like trend line liquidity basically forming here. Oh, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? Would make a lot more sense to me. Bang, then up. Okay, but it doesn't have to happen. Above here, I think you could flip bullish, stop below here. Okay, that's 2 very clear setups. The third one would be the weekly flipping bullish, which in my opinion would look like a run of this low. Okay, so we take out that weekly liquidity, and then similar to the setup that I showed you here, which is a run below this low, would just be a larger sell-off, right? And then bang, find the breaker that caused us to take out this low, and that's where your entry is, and your stop is below here. So either way, I'm pretty confident that we take out this low sooner than later. Like if you even look at this like on a weekly chart, like there's kind of this like gay trend line. Like I don't really like trend lines, but there's kind of this like trend line forming here. And if we get one more run below this, it would also line up with that trade. And, oh man, you don't ever use trend lines. A trend line is a trend line because if enough people see it and bid it, it becomes a level of support. You know, it's like the Tom Lee conversation we had a few months ago. Tom Lee says he's going to buy this level because his TA analyst says so. Well, guess what? If you buy at a level that TA says you should buy with billions of dollars, it becomes a real level. Same idea here. So I think something like this is likely the outcome that we're going to have on Bitcoin here. And that's how I think this plays out on the high time frame. On the low time frame, of course, how do we actually get involved? And I've kind of showed you that idea here, right? Which it's either we reject shallow, we don't reject at all, right? But eventually, I do think whether we bounce first or not, I do think this weekly level gets taken, and that's where I want to shove. So those are the levels that I'm interested in. I want to see this get run. I'm watching this level here, and I'm looking for this to get run potentially. And those are the 3 areas where I'm going to frame my trade ideas. Now, if we just chop around here, if we pump here and break this high, right, then I have new data to work with, and I'm going to change my bias. One of the things I think many of you struggle with the most is this idea that I can have this plan that like, hey, I want a long below here. And then price, does this. And then you're like, well, fuck, I want a long below here. And it's like, well, dude, the market has told you otherwise. Like it has told you that it's not going there. It's giving you new information, new data. We took out a low. We broke structure. We broke structure again. Like we're now clearly in an uptrend. You have to be able to recognize, and the sooner the better, that you're wrong and that your bias flips. Like maybe we do this. Maybe you miss this part of the move, but at this point you say, okay, clearly I'm wrong. We're not going below here. I'm going to long here, right? You don't want to wait for price to already be $30,000 higher before you say, oh, maybe my idea was wrong and I'm not going to get that entry I want. And the reason I think a lot of people struggle with this is twofold. Number one, you have this idea that because you have formed a bias and done some analysis that the market has to do what you want. It doesn't. It can leave a low. It can not tag an order block, right? It can front run a level. It can blast through a level and then bounce from it. The market can do whatever it wants. You have no control over it. As much as you like to think, as much as people like to pretend. So that's the first problem I think people have is you're like, okay, I want to buy here. And then when it doesn't do what you want, you don't have the ability to quickly say, okay, new information is provided. I've got to change my plan. I got to form a new one. The second reason I think people struggle so much with flipping their bias is because of social media themselves. Look at my most recent post, right? Like I say I'm longing here. It gets stopped out. I haven't updated for a few days. Comments, update, bro, haha, wrecked, blah, blah, blah. And the neophyte, the average person can't handle that criticism. And I get it. I used to be that person. I would read my comments and I'd be like, I got to stick to my bias. I don't want people to think I get shit wrong. You're embarrassed to be like, well, he was a bull and now you're bearish. Like, what the fuck? Flip-flopping, you're an idiot. Like, I get it. That stuff. But ignore all of these people. Reason number one to ignore them. They're retarded. Reason number two to ignore them. They're fucking retarded. And most importantly, reason number three to ignore them, they have no effect on your trades. They're not controlling your money. They're likely not even trading their own money. So listening to the peanut gallery is a futile endeavor. There is no reason to listen to these people and to change your trading and make decisions you might not normally make because you're worried about what a bunch of random retarded strangers on the internet might say. Ignore them. Okay, stick with your plan. Be extremely confident in your analysis, but be willing to switch it on a dime when new information is presented and ignore the fact that there's going to be people saying, oh, he's flip-flopping, he was bearish, he was bullish. Go look at all the best traders. They flip their bias like this. They're the biggest bull on the planet, and then boom, they're bearish. Ansem's calling for 1,000 SOL, and then he's like, I'm out at 250. Things have changed, right? Like, that's okay. I'm super bullish on this coin. Something's happened. New information provided. I'm no longer interested. Why would you long something that you're not giga bullish on, right? I'm the biggest bull until my long idea is wrong. And you need to think the same way. So be confident in your ideas and don't let strangers on the internet who you don't know, who don't care about you, who are likely not even trading and have no idea what they're talking about, affect your analysis. And I think this bugs a lot of you because you go, oh man, you were so bullish now and now you're there. It's like, I don't care, dude. I'm just trading. I'm trading the chart. The information that I have in front of me, I use that to make my decision. When I get new info, I make new decisions. I change and I tweak and I mold my bias and my analysis around that new information. Okay. So this is my plan for crypto, for Bitcoin specifically, excuse me. If things change, if none of these scenarios that I lay out happen, I'm going to have to make a new plan. Just like when I longed here, I thought price was going to go up. It didn't. I've got to make a new plan. You're going to be wrong often, okay? And that's okay. As long as you keep your losses small, your wins are bigger, you will be profitable, all right? So I don't think it's over. These are the levels of interest for me on Bitcoin. And if any of these situations, the bullish ones, right? If we do something like this on Bitcoin, guess what? This will be a pretty good opportunity to long Solana, long ETH, long altcoins that you think might be higher beta, okay? Remember, the best time to long your down the risk tail assets is when Bitcoin is bullish as well, right? Of all things, you want Bitcoin to not be bearish. If Bitcoin's at support and you think pump fund's going to go up more, go long it, and that setup's got a higher likelihood of working out if Bitcoin's also at an area of support. That's exactly when I longed pump, as you guys know. We longed pump fund here. What happened to Bitcoin? It was at support and ended up bouncing 10 grand, pump tripled. Same idea here. So if you have an altcoin that you want to long, maybe it's Aster, maybe it's Plasma, one of these new coins that are in the meta right now. The best time to long that thing for continuation and expecting it to go higher is when Bitcoin decides it's going to break out higher, okay? So this video ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was supposed to be, and I rambled. So maybe I'll save ETH and Solana analysis for tomorrow. One other thing I want to leave you with, I do think Bitcoin dominance is putting in a low. So I know I mentioned, longing your altcoins and stuff. I don't think that you can't long altcoins, but I do think sooner than later, based on one of these scenarios I laid out, right, Bitcoin is going to take the lead again going into October here. And that's going to be confluent with Bitcoin dominance bouncing. Now, a lot of people are going to think this is bad because maybe that means their altcoins underperform. But in my opinion, if Bitcoin dominance can bounce and Bitcoin itself leads the leg of the next rally, that just means this bull run, this next leg has a longer time frame in which it will play out. Okay, I just think it's better overall, actually, if the next leg and the next significant move higher is led by Bitcoin, coupled with a Bitcoin dominance bounce. Okay, so wanted to get this out here. That's my analysis for Bitcoin. I'm sorry we didn't get to Sol and ETH today, but I've got to run and do some errands. It is Sunday. But yeah, I love you guys as always. I hope you appreciate the videos. The views have been going crazy on the channel. I'm really excited with the trajectory of things. So I'm just going to keep hammering out these short videos. I know you guys like them. As always, if you want to support me, all of my bullshit is in the description of this video. Ref links. If you want to use Breakout, we recently got acquired by Kraken. I don't know if you heard, but we're working on a ton of exciting stuff. That's who I was down in San Francisco meeting. I was meeting with Arjun and Dave, the CEOs of Kraken, talking about the future for Breakout within the Kraken organization. It's super fucking exciting, the stuff that we're working on. And yes, we are going to be integrating our terminal. We're going to be getting rid of our current terminal, and you're going to be soon trading the Breakout product with the Kraken UI. That is coming. I can't give you a date yet because the engineers will kill me, but that is like priority number one, is to get rid of our current terminal, replace it with Kraken's UI. Very exciting stuff and much more coming with that. If you want a code for a discount to use Breakout, you want to take advantage of some of this volatility this week, code MAIN will give you a 2% discount. And that is the biggest discount you'll find anywhere. No one has a bigger discount than that. As always, if you want to join the Haven for more in-depth thoughts, more stuff from me, educational content, find that info in the description as well. But as always, I'm going to be doing these videos for free on YouTube, so you don't need to join. If you want to join my Telegram, where I post a lot more charts than I do on Twitter, that's in the description as well. If you want to use the IMG indicator, the sale is running for another couple days. IMG 10, 10% off. IMG 20 for life for 20% off on annual plans. And I'm working on a new IMG video that will explain how it works, all the features and functions and shit like that. Otherwise, if you don't want to buy anything from me, because you don't have to, I'm doing these videos for free. I've got over 1,000 videos on this channel going over my system and my thoughts on the market for the past 7+ years at this point. And that's not stopping anytime soon. So as usual, leave me a comment. Tell me how handsome I am. Tell me that my jawline is reappearing because I've been intermittent fasting and doing my 10,000 steps and losing a little weight. Tell me that my neck is thick and that you love me. All right, guys, love you so much. I will talk to you in the next video, probably tomorrow. Peace out. Goodbye.